4th of May. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. And we are rolling on the 4th of May, where it's a beautiful day at UCLA in Los Angeles. Sunshine is shining. Eat your heart out, East Coast. And we're looking around the room to make sure that all the phones are away, computers are closed. And she's in the power stance. She's managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech. You got time? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
If you see me walking down the hill towards class, I'm most likely listening to music with my headphones in. Mostly Kehlani, Banks, some Ed Sheeran, and of course, my personal favorite, Moana. Today, I'm going to tell you about a film that really moved me, Disney's Moana. It made me laugh, it made me cry, and it made me feel empowered. It deals with a lot of significant themes such as individuality, family, and bravery. Madame Rizov recently reviewed the movie and said that it's inessential and disposable. I completely disagree with this review because I think Moana is very different from other Disney movies, mainly because the main heroine does not have a love interest as the main focus of the movie. Now, the first way that this film made me feel was that it made me laugh. The incident that made me feel this way was when Moana was left on an island by Maui as he leaves her in a canoe. So she runs off a cliff in an attempt to catch him, and instead of landing on the canoe, she belly flops on her face. Now, this reminded me of my 8th birthday party. It was a pool party with Groovy Girl themed everything. And you know, 8th grade birthday parties are where everyone determines if you're cool or not. So there was a lot of pressure. And so, I wanted to impress everyone by doing a really graceful dive into the pool instead of your typical cannonball. Well, I gave myself a huge running start, and I leaped towards the pool. But instead of doing the graceful dive I planned, I belly flopped straight onto my face, much like Moana. Now, I was completely embarrassed and I felt very silly, as I'm sure Moana did when she was trying to impress a demigod. But it made me laugh, and my friends still thought I was cool, so it was okay. The next way this movie moved me was that it made me cry, twice. One of the incidents that made me feel this way was when Moana is packing for her journey to Te Fiti and her mom finds her. And instead of stopping her from going on this dangerous trip, Moana's mom helps her pack and hugs her goodbye, despite her fears for her daughter. This reminded me of the moment that I said goodbye to my mom when I left for college. I'm an only child, and so I knew my mom was dreading the day that I would leave her. And so, the moment we said goodbye was filled with anticipation for my journey ahead, but also filled with a lot of sadness that I would be leaving everything I knew behind. And so I felt for both Moana and her mom when I saw this scene, and it reminded me of this pivotal moment in my life. The next way the movie moved me was that it made me feel empowered. The incident that made me feel this way was when the image pans out and you see that Moana has chosen her village and accepted her role as chief of her people. But she has also chosen the sea, and this is signified by a seashell rather than the typical slab of stone set on a mountain. This reminded me of my own choice to become a dance major here at UCLA, rather than choosing a more traditional academic major at other colleges that I applied to. Now, I have a very traditional Asian family from distant relatives, and they were all pressuring me to choose the more academic major. But I knew that I wouldn't be happy unless I chose dance, because it has become such a major part of my identity. And it's really easy for me to hesitate on my own choices when I'm constantly getting remarks that I'm not doing real college because I'm just a dance major. And while it may seem silly to be validated by an animated character, I realized through this movie that my choices were valid and that I can choose two things that I love, academics and dance. And so this movie really helped me feel empowered in my own decisions, because if Moana can choose both her people and the sea, then I can choose a path for my own desires. So, in conclusion, this movie obviously moved me in very significant ways. It made me laugh, it made me cry, and it made me feel empowered. If you need any more convincing that this movie moved me, just know that I've watched it 8 times and counting. So, of course I love this movie for its significant themes of individuality and bravery, the comical characters, and of course, the soundtrack. So if you hear someone humming Moana on their walk down to class, it's most likely me. and I'd highly suggest adding the soundtrack to your playlist. I promise you won't regret it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's start on this side today.
Hi.
4:15. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Emily.
Hi,
I
Emily.
think you did a really good job. It felt really genuine. The part that really stuck for me was when you talked about the seashell and how dance and that last section. I really liked that.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Louisa.
Hi, Louisa.
I think you did a really good job. I don't really have much. I think you kind of lost track of where you were going a little bit on your third point, but you did a good job.
Okay, good. I like the movie you chose. I appreciate you having the courage to choose it. Many people say, "Oh, I can't choose that movie. It's a cartoon." But they do really have themes that relate to many people on many levels. So thank you for that. Let's start with some overarching things. Had a little time left. I think you could have spent some of the time elaborating more on your emotions and developing them and doing more felt sensing. So you talked about walking down Bruin Walk and playing a lot of different songs, but Moana was one of them, and you tied back to that nicely so that you understood that concept perfectly. So that was excellent. Your thesis was perfect. Your significance statement was perfect. Your review, you found a negative review and you disagreed with it. And my only thing was I wanted you to learn to use the Chicago style of footnoting, which would have the footnote on the bottom of the page. So remember for the persuasive speech, to use the Chicago style, okay? On the main body, laugh. I thought I really was with you, and the word story that you told was funny, and I felt you remembering it and laughing, and I could see that you were felt sensing, and so I felt that was a good job of reminding us of how you laughed at the 8th grade when you did the big belly flop. My only thing that I noticed you wrote down here at the bottom was, and that's why, you want to say your emotions at the end in the same language that you used in your preview. And that's why Moana and that situation made me laugh, ha ha ha, and still feel it. On cry, here's where I felt I didn't get your full felt sensing. I didn't really feel your sadness. When I drove my daughter to college and when I drove away, I pulled over and had to cry. I was so bummed out, And I thought, oh my God, is she going to be okay? And I just didn't want her to see me cry, But I wanted you to refill and remember sort of the tears and the sadness and bring it back up and have it come to us and then say, and that's why I cried. And so I say cry could be stronger. On empowered, one of your classmates felt that loved the shell and the rock and the dance, and another classmate felt it was a little confusing. I don't know, empowered is kind of a tough emotion to communicate. You were working through it by saying you were bucking the trend of an Asian family and them wanting you to go to, I don't know, law school or med school or something, and a traditional academic fare. And I needed you to more describe what you sort of, I had a confrontation and I stuck to my guns and I said, no, I'm doing this and I'm proud of myself that I followed my path, what I felt I needed to do. It's my life. And that's why I felt so empowered. So, your summary was great. Your conclusion was great. I loved the little aside 8 times. That was cute. And your tie back was perfect. Let's talk about your canais. You said, relax and try not to be so stiff in my shoulders. Better flow between each new thought and natural hand gestures. How did that go?
I think for the first part I was more natural, but I think I got a little nervous towards the end of it, so I think I kind of went back towards having like unnatural, or not, just like more stiffer gestures.
Yeah.
And then my transitions, I think I still need to work on.
Yeah. Did you find the walking help relax you a little, and not so much you weren't quite so stiff?
Yeah, it definitely helps. Like, it reminds me, like, as I'm walking, but then sometimes when I like start talking, I'll forget.
Yes. Okay. Good. Well, these were good goals to have, and I would still work a little on the felt sensing so that you really master it, because it will come back up in the persuasive speech and in the PC speech. But overall, you did a nice job, so thank you very much, Stephanie. Oh, you want to put it where it belongs?
I'm sorry?
You're sorry? Good. Can you put it where it belongs? Yeah. Just a minute. Moses. Thank you. Yeah, Moses gets slow on the uptake. Thank you. Thank you, Kiara. More. Did everyone turn in an exam? Great. Okay. Danielle.
Yeah, I think that was the last.
Sherry did it. Okay. Abigail. What letter are you?
I'm D.
You're a B?
I'm D.
As in a dog?
Or Delta.
Yes.
Delta. Alpha Delta. And is there...
Yeah.
Luke has done it, so...
An A that hasn't gone.
An A that hasn't gone. All right, let's hear the A. Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Fine. Nervous. As usual.
Okay, you're a little taller, so let me adjust the camera. Okay, Olivia stands before you, power stance a little wider. Managing attention, she's writing. Communicating respect non-verbally. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center, making sure all computers are away, phones are away. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center, saying after a little start your speech.
Hi, I'm Olivia.
Hi, Olivia.
I've been having thoughts of killing Einar, but it's only the thought that I would be killing Lily too that prevents me. Today, I'm going to introduce to you a film that really moved me, The Danish Girl. It's about a married couple in love, Einar and Gerda, but Einar feels that he's born in the wrong body. So the film deals with transgender issues, for you who haven't seen the movie. This movie made me feel appreciation, it made me admire, and it made me sad. The Guardian wrote that The Danish Girl is a bloodless movie that takes away the operating table from Lily's story and replaces it with a coffee table instead, and gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I simply cannot agree less. This is a beautiful film with significant and important themes, and the film deals with them in a beautiful way. I'm going to start off by telling you how this film made me feel appreciation. The incident in the film that made me feel appreciation was when I understood the struggle Einar had to go through in order to become Lily. As doctors tried to lock him up and treat him with chemotherapy in order to cure what they call a chemical imbalance. This made me appreciate the fact that I'm born in a way that our society considers to be normal. And even though I still struggle with social acceptances and try to fit in, and this reminded me of when I first moved to LA. I moved in with my roomies. They were all about the shallow nightclub partying in LA, and I kind of got caught up and lost a sense of myself for a while. So now that I've told you about how this film made me feel appreciation, I'm going to tell you about how this film made me admire. This film made me admire Einar's courage to be who he really thought that he was born to be, or felt like. And the incident in the movie was when Einar decided to dress up as a girl when he still had the features of a man. And he even got beat up for it. And this made me think of when I was in high school, and I was in a class with 20 boys and we were only 4 girls. And the boys were not nice at all. They objectified us girls, and when I think back on it, I wish I had the courage that Einar had, so I could have stood up for myself, because that incident made me insecure. So now that I've told you about how this film made me admire, I'm going to tell you about how this film made me sad and sentimental. The incident in the movie that made me feel a bit sentimental was when Einar's wife, Gerda, supported Einar through his struggles and his decision to become Lily, even though it was really hard for her as well. And this incident made me think of my boyfriend from Sweden. And when I decided to accept going to UCLA and move to LA for a year, he supported me, and he has supported me ever since. So, in summary, I've told you about how this movie really moved me and made me feel appreciation, how it made me admire, and how it made me feel sad and sentimental. So there should be no doubt in this room that this movie really moved me, and that Einar might be gone, but his struggles to become Lily is still in my thoughts forever.
Thank you. Sorry about my errant phone. Should have turned it off.
Hi, I'm Sydney.
Hi, Sydney.
I really liked your speech. I thought you did a really good job delivering it, and I thought that the stories you chose were really good choices, and that it really allowed an emotional connection with the audience, which was definitely one of the points of this speech. So I thought you did a really good job. Thank you.
Improvement.
Hi, I'm Alec.
Hi, Alec.
And I totally agree with her. I loved your choices, and I loved where you went with all of it. My biggest thing was just like the hands. Like I could tell like you were into the movie, so I wanted to see you like relax more. And this was like kind of closing off, but like it was really good.
Thank you. Olivia. Well, you chose a movie that was very near and dear to you. We could tell it moved you. And this is a topic that's been coming up more and more with Bruce Jenner making the big change to whatever his new name is. I don't know. What's his name? Caitlin. Sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, lots of people are thinking about it and talking about it and worrying about it. And it must be a horrible thing to be trapped in a body of what you don't feel is right and you don't belong. So you made that clear. Your quote that you started off with was rather dramatic. I've been thinking of killing Einar, but it is the thought of killing Lily as well that prevents me. So I was waiting and looking for a tie back to that quote of killing, or saying the whole quote again that would have made it more effective. Okay? So let's work on, do you understand what the tie back means? You say how you started in the end, in the beginning. You take whatever was there and jiggle it around a little and make it the end.
When I said that, like, Einar is gone, but then lives on. Okay.
Right. It turns out he didn't have to commit any murder.
Yeah.
Something like that. Say, yeah. Okay, good. But it was a dramatic quote, and I think it was a little bit of an abrupt transition. We all kind of knew it was from the movie, but this quote, you might have said, from the movie The Danish Girl, which is the film I want to talk to you about today, might have been a little smoother, say. And you briefly praised the Lord, didn't give us the whole summary of the movie. You just said it dealt with transgender issues for those of us that haven't seen it, and that was enough. That was good. So your three emotions that you were going to felt sense is appreciate, admire, and cry, right? Yeah. So that was fine. You gave us a preview of where you were going. Your sixth statement was good. You quoted the British newspaper, I recall, right?
Yeah, the Guardian.
Guardian, yes. And I liked the way you emphatically said, I couldn't agree less. It's interesting. And you went on to say why you disagreed, so that was fine. That was good. Now, the first emotion that we wanted to have you feel and experience was appreciative, and you told us that they tried to change him with, you know, the old traditional way, you know, with chemotherapy or, you know, beating. You know, they've tried everything to, you know, knock the transgender sense back into them, and none of that has worked, you know. So we get to your story, which you said the incident made me feel appreciated because it made me realize how lucky I am. I'm normal. I moved to LA. My roommates were shallow partying animals, and I got caught up and I lost a sense of myself for a while, right? What I didn't get is, where did we get appreciative in all that? What did you appreciate that you finally got back to a sense of yourself after?
No, I just feel like that struggle was, it could have been even worse. Like, imagine his struggle.
It could have been worse.
Yeah.
Okay. And do remember to return and say the emotion at the end. And that's why I felt so appreciative. But besides appreciative, I felt admiration. One thing, do you know what the Chicago style of footnoting means?
Kind of know. I tried to look it up, but
Okay, well, remember in our lecture, Mickey Gurrell said you can go to that source that she has on the left side, the owl at Purdue, and it has all the styles. And even when you go to the Guardian, you can choose whether it's going to be MLA or APA or Chicago, and then just. But the big point was, just so you'll know for the future footnoting, that the full citation is on the bottom of the first
it's
page.
on the last page. Sorry.
Right, but Chicago puts
Yeah.
it on the first page.
Okay.
Okay, with the program now? Okay, good. All right, so let's talk about your second emotion, admiration. Yeah. You said you admired Einer when she sort of accepted who she was, or he was, I don't know what it was, and went against what was considered to be socially acceptable in society, dressed up a woman and got beat up. You then formed a parallel, and your story was you went to a school with all boys who were cads, who objectified and bullied you, which is kind of sad, and you wanted to stand up for yourself. And then you ended which said, that's the reason I am still insecure to myself. What I didn't get, which was the emotion we were after, was admiration. And I needed to have you somehow come back to that emotion and tell us why you going to a boys' school, or an almost boys' school, I know you admired the character in the movie, but what made you admire yourself or something in the story made you feel admiration, see?
Yeah, it was his courage.
The courage
Yeah.
to stand up. Okay. So you see my point. You need to have admiration in your life that you feel, refill, and present. On sentimental, you basically told the story that the wife stood by Einer as he became Lily, right? And your parallelism was my boyfriend back there, wherever it is, supports me and is standing by me and is not roaming off the reservation and becoming emotionally double parked, etc. He's holding for a long-term relationship, or a long-distance relationship, I guess is a better word, right? So, and what you needed to do is you say, and the fact that he's doing this for me makes me feel sentimental. And feel it, and then say it. See? Yeah. So, summary was good. You had the three emotions. The conclusion, the Danish girl. Sounds like a great movie.
Yeah, she's it.
Yeah. And the tieback, as I told you, wasn't a tieback. So let's look at your canai now, Olivia. You said you don't want to have stage fright. You wanted to move on the main body and to use dynamic and an engaging voice to convey your feelings. How'd it go?
The last part I didn't succeed with.
Uh-huh. What can you do differently?
But I feel like since you get nervous, it's hard to express the emotions.
Yes. Well, in practice, you know, the more you practice and practice expressing emotions with a live person, that helps a lot. Okay. You said to not have stage fright. Sometimes I think it helps to say, instead of a negative goal, say, I want to be confident, and fake it till you make it. I will be confident, and come up really, you know, fast and like I own the room and stuff like that. Okay, fake it till you make it. Okay, very nice job, Olivia. You got it done. Thank you. Any more B's? Okay, let's do the C's. Okay, here we go. C's. Oh, Jussie already did it. Okay. Brian in the house? Okay, let's hear from Brian. Came in the other door, huh? Is your self-evaluation here?
No.
Oh, what a pity. Okay. Okay, let me adjust the camera. Thank you so much. Okay, Brian stands before you. Power stance, feet a little wider. Communicating respect non-verbally. Telephones away. Books closed. Yeah. Computers closed. Say to yourself, I respect my audience and really mean it. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi everybody, my name is Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, wrote Thomas Jefferson on the Declaration of Independence. But if we really think about it, is happiness pursuable or is it impossible to obtain? I want you guys to think about that question. Today I'm going to be telling you guys about a movie that really moved me, The Pursuit of Happiness. It made me feel happy, made me feel connected, and it motivated me. Movie critic Adam Hole says, Will Smith and his son Jaden bring to life the true story of a father-son family valiantly struggling to rise from the struggles of 1980 San Francisco. I agree with this movie critic because I personally feel connected to Christopher Gardner, which is the character that Will Smith plays, because I've gone through similar situations as him, so I feel that the movie correctly depicts these situations. And so I'm going to be telling you about the 3 ways that this movie made me feel. First, this movie made me feel happy. The incident in the movie that made me feel happy was when Christopher Gardner, he's been interning for weeks at the job, and he ends up getting the job out of a selective amount of people. He also had some medical devices that he invested his whole savings in, and at last he managed to finally sell one, and he got to afford a night at a hotel for him and his son. In my life, I could relate it to me because there was a scholarship for $2,000 that I applied to last year. It was 150 people that applied to it, and only 5 of us were going to get it. And so through commitment by volunteering, I had to attend events such as toy drives, parading, marching with the mayor actually. And so through all those efforts, I actually got the scholarship. And when this happened to me, I felt really happy. But at the same time, I thought there were other people that deserved it. And there were many more other options than me. But at the same time, I felt proud of myself because I realized that all my efforts have paid off. The second way this movie made me feel was connected. And the scene in the movie that made me feel connected was when Christopher Gardner, he has a lot of debts. He has He loses his home, he loses his job, he loses his wife, and he's struggling with his son. And so I feel connected to the movie because my mom, she's a single mom, and so she lost her job at a certain point, and so she had a lot of debts. We were so close to losing our apartment because we were struggling to pay with rent. And my dad, we lost contact with him, so he couldn't provide any financial support. So I felt really hopeless at that time. I was just a child, but I still managed to feel the situation, and I felt really hopeless. I felt that the world was playing a game of Midas's touch with me, but instead of everything turning into gold and luxury, we were turning miserable. And so the third way that this movie made me feel was motivated. And the situation in the movie that made me feel motivated was when Christopher tells his son, don't let someone tell you that you could never do something. You have a dream, protect it. And so the situation in my life that made me feel this way was when I got into UCLA. When I first got into UCLA, I didn't really care, I'm going to be honest. But after Bruin Day, I actually felt really motivated to come to UCLA. And someone at my school, someone that I trusted, someone that I felt that they were really special to me, they told me to not go to UCLA, that it did not fit my academic level, and to rather attend a community college. And when that happened, I felt really dismotivated, especially that it was coming from a person that I really appreciated. And that same day, actually, my AP government teacher played that movie, and when that quote came out, I really got to reflect on that situation, and it made me feel, well, UCLA is not my dream school. I really want to go to UCLA, and I shouldn't really let anyone doubt my potential, and I should go if it's my dream. And so now here I am, and I surpassed all those doubts that the person probably had of me. And so, in summary, I've told you 3 ways that this movie made me feel. It made me feel happy, it made me feel connected, and it made me feel motivated. And then there shouldn't be any doubt in this room the way the movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, made me feel. And so let's ask ourselves this question again. Is happiness pursuable? I'm not going to answer that, but I hope that my speech made you guys realize an answer. Thank you.
Okay, yes sir.
Hi, I'm Luke.
Hi, Luke.
I really liked your speech, and it definitely motivated us. It was, it was one of your emotions that you felt, but it was very uplifting, and you did a good job of connecting with us. Like, we can all kind of relate to that. UCLA, we all know how tough it is, but you did a good job of relating with us.
Thank you, Luke. Improvement.
Yeah, I loved your speech as well. I really loved
Name.
Hi, Brian.
Brian.
I really like the Midas's touch analogy, and I like that you incorporated the film into one of your stories. Like when you watched the film, that was really cool. I would say maybe some voice inflection so we can relate with the emotion you're feeling. Like when you're feeling sad, maybe that's reflected in your voice, so we can really get into that.
Yeah.
455.
455. Thank you. Let's start with the obvious, Brian. You used all your time wisely, so you filled up the 5 minutes. Very nice. Do remember to turn in your self-evaluation and watch yourself 3 times and learn from that and how the world sees you. You started with Thomas Jefferson and his famous quote, and you tied back to it, but you basically said, you decide. I don't know. But you did fulfill the intro tie back, and you started with a quote and a form of a rhetorical question. It was fine. So, here's where I had a little bit of trouble, and I want you to notice this when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube. You said you felt happy, connected, and motivated. And I want you to be consistent with those terms if that's the terms you're going to use all the way through, see? So let's just remember that. You quoted from movie critic Adam R. Holtz, and you said you agreed, so you fulfilled the first part of a significant statement. Unfortunately, you didn't fulfill the second part. Tell me what you think a significant statement is supposed to do, besides have a movie quote in it, movie review in it. What? Great. Well, that's why we're here to learn. Right, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah. When we say significant to the audience. So we want to, it's where we sell the speech. And that's why we say, this movie has significant things for you that Kiara will want to hear and listen to. That, you know, that different people in the room, the video back there will want to care about. See? So you sell it. That's what significance means. Significance to the audience. On your main body. You started with happy, and you didn't move. You forgot. So remember to move on each of the main parts of your main body. You told us briefly about Chris and him selling that crazy machine of his. Then you paralleled it to a scholarship that you applied for and received. And you said you felt happy. And I kind of got your sense that you felt happy, but then you said, well, I was kind of happy, but then I thought other people deserved it too. But I kind of felt you remembering the happiness you felt when you got it. And that's what you were supposed to do, see? Yeah. So that was pretty good. Yeah. Now, you had the Chicago style that you used for your footnotes. Thank you. Good. Second emotion, you said connected, and that was same as you did above. However, what you really communicated was hopeless and miserable, and not so much connected, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that you want to be more consistent, and I would have changed it to hopeless or miserable up in the thesis and kept it that way, because that was the emotion I felt you feeling. And as one of your colleagues suggested, slow down, re-feel the emotions, remember how you felt, and that sort of thing. Now, very brief summary of the film. Excellent. You then shared with us your family's hard times. Your father flew the coop. Your mother was staying around to be responsible. And you could hardly even make the rent on your apartment. Things were grim. Things felt hopeless. And you remembered that, and feel that. And I too liked the metaphor, the Midas touch. And so that was a strong story, but remember to feel how you felt then, desperate and miserable. And that's why. So it wouldn't have made sense for you to say, and that's why I felt connected, unless you said connected to Chris.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, and instead you said, and that's why I felt miserable like Chris. See? And I felt miserable. All right, on the third emotion you were trying to communicate to us was inspired, and that was inconsistent with what you put up here, which was motivated. Okay, so you changed it, and your audience may or may not notice that, but I noticed it. Okay, so keep your rhetoric consistent. So now we're talking about being inspired. it would have been perfectly fine to say, you know, I felt happy, hopeless, and inspired for your thesis. Because that's really the three you were communicating. You gave us a brief summary. I like what you said he lost his mother. No, the mother abandoned them.
Yeah.
You know, not to put too fine a point on it. And on the story you told, you said a counselor or somebody said, you're not really UCLA material, go to a junior college. And, you know, it's kind of a tough thing coming from a important person in your life or whatever. But, you know, as, you know, Chris said, or that great movie Listen to Me wrote, don't ever believe the negative people and the negative words they try to put in your head. Never stop believing that your potential is infinite, right? And that's what you did, right? So, that was good. That was a good expression of not listening to people and not being put down. But again, we didn't return to either inspired or motivated. We just didn't return to anything. We just got out of the story. Okay? Summary was fine, but you went back to your thesis, which was sort of off-putting. Conclusion was fine, and I liked your tie back, but as I said, it was kind of a cop-out. Let's talk about your canais. Number 1, do not stutter. 2, move naturally. 3, speak within the time frame. How did it go?
Well, I spoke within the time frame.
Yes, you did, Brian.
For naturally moving, well, at first, I wasn't really, I had forgotten, but then, like, it came to me.
Yes.
But I still need to work on that.
Yes.
But for stuttering, I kind of stutter.
Yeah. Well, let me make a couple of comments. I don't know if you practice with a live person or a mirror, but many people, when they practice, they don't move when they practice. They go, oh, I'll remember when I get up there. No, you won't. You need to have that body memory of moving in practice, right? That's what practice means, right? Right? So I don't know if you moved in practice, but you should. And you should practice if you can with a live person, not just a mirror. And I'm glad that you didn't, because you missed the first one, didn't. Some people just say, oh, well, screw it, I'm not moving at all. You know, at least you moved some. So that was good, and that relaxed you a little. The stuttering, I think, is just from a little nervousness, and I think that will just come with more practice and confidence. It will come as you speak more. And my recommendation is, if you're nervous about public speaking, speak as many times as you can. If you have study discussions or study groups, raise your hand every time or 2 times and ask questions. Just get in the habit of speaking, and then it will become desensitized and a natural act. Okay? Nice job, Brian. Okay.